Hello everyone, I've got a joke for you. Why are chefs the best daredevils? Because they always take risks. Okay, no more jokes, but seriously, an important part of life is risks. Today, we'll be talking about the likelihood of something bad happening, such as getting sick. In medical treatment, the overarching goal is to reduce that risk. The risk reduction can be presented in two different ways: absolute risk reduction or relative risk reduction. Now, let's start with absolute risk reduction. This is your risk of developing a certain disease over time. We all have absolute risks of developing various diseases, such as cancer or bacterial viruses. For example, we can read absolute risk as a 1 in 10 risk, a 10% risk, or a 0.1 risk, depending whether percentages or decimals are required. Now, let's look at relative risk reduction. This is used to compare the risk in two different groups of people, such as those who exercise regularly and those who don't. So how do these two relate? Well, absolute risk helps put into perspective how much benefit an individual is likely to have from a treatment or prevention, whereas relative risk can help us find disparities, like if one group is having better outcomes than another. This can help researchers and medical professionals to distinguish or see the benefits of certain interventions. Now, let's look at an example relating to treatment. Say women have a 2 in 20 risk of developing a certain disease by the time they are 70. Then, a new treatment comes along and reduces relative risk by 50%. 50% of 2 is 1. Therefore, our absolute risk is reduced from 2 in 20 to 1 in 20. Now, let's wrap it up. To summarize, medical conditions or treatments are often quoted along the lines of new treatment reduces your risk of X disease by 25%. While this sounds good, it usually refers to relative risk, which depends on how common or rare the disease is. A large reduction in relative risk for a rare disease might not mean much reduction in the absolute risk. One more example. A 75% reduction in the relative risk for something that has a 4 in a million absolute risk of happening brings the absolute risk down to 1 in a million. So, when making decisions based upon risk, ideally you should decide if the reduction in the absolute risk outweighs the risk, costs, and side effects of treatment. Thank you.
Created using Powtoon.